Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video for beginners. So today we have puzzles rated 100 up to 850. If these are too easy for you, I also do intermediate, advanced, let's see, expert, yes, intermediate, advanced, and expert level puzzles. And in the future, I'll probably start doing a master puzzle series as well. And also started another series, Most Common Patterns, because a viewer requested that. They wanted to see patterns that are used most often. And I got off to kind of a rough start in that one because um, I set it for about half a dozen different tactics, but it only showed one. So I guess I'll have to do one at a time and just rotate through them. But for today, these are all random. So it's more like an actual game. You don't know what patterns or tactics are in the position unless you figure it out and calculate it yourself. So, what do you do first? You want to look at material real quick here. We have 7 pawns, our opponent has 7, and we each have 2 rooks. So, material is even. And you want to look at checks, captures, and threats in that order. Checks first because they're most forcing, and that will hopefully give you the answer. So take a look at it, pause at any time if you need to think longer. If not, here we go. We have a check, the only check, and that should give you the answer right there. Once we deliver a check, when a king is in check, the only possibilities are to capture, block, or run. And the king cannot run because of our pawn covering both of these squares. There's no way to block, so the only thing to do is capture. So we go here, they capture, and then our other rook comes up delivering a back rank mate. And I just had a viewer, the same viewer who requested the Most Common Patterns video series, also mentioned, why are there so many back rank mate puzzles? Well, they can happen more often than you think, but a lot of times it's the threat of the back rank mate, and your opponent will see it and they'll have to defend against it. So maybe you don't get to actually complete the back rank mate like this one as often, but you can definitely set up threats for that back rank mate, and they'll have to defend, and it could result in them having a worse position. Okay, I want to try and do 10 puzzles, so I better get moving here. All right, what did we have? A capture? Maybe if we had a bishop here and they traded off, maybe. So, material-wise, what do we have? 4, 7 pawns versus 7. 3 minor pieces versus 3. We each have bishops that can be captured by the kings. Okay, with white to move here though, if you follow the strategy of looking at checks, captures, and threats in that order, and you look at checks first, well, hopefully you'll find the winning move because there's only, one check possible here, and that would be a queen check. So we're going to move here and deliver a mate in 1. All right, so basic little pattern with the bishop and queen battery working together. And often it takes about 3 pieces to checkmate your opponent's king, more or less depending on how many defenders they have. Okay, what do we have here? 3 pawns versus 5. Rook and bishop, so they have 2 extra pawns and a knight. So we need to do something immediately. All right, so here we go again, another back rank mate. So hopefully you found this. If you looked at checks first, the only check possible is that. The bishop can block, but then we just take and we have the back rank mate. So check and mate. So anytime these pawns are lined up in front of the king, and he can't get around them in 1 move, it would take 2. There's no way to stop that back rank mate, so start looking for potential back rank mates in that position. They may or may not be possible, or your opponent will probably see it coming, but he'll have to defend and be on the defensive instead of the offensive. All right. What do we have here? Pawn and rook on each side. But take a look at this. The same recurring theme. What do? Look at checks first. Now we have a king preventing the opponent's king from coming forward because all these squares are covered by our king. So we're going to deliver a check on the back rank. They'll have to block. Then we capture here with a mate. So check and mate, another back rank mate. Okay, on to problem number 5. What was this? A bishop moving over here towards our king side. Okay. All right. I guess we have another back rank mate, kind of. The king is on the back rank, but we're attacking from the side, so maybe it's kind of like a side file mate, if that is such a thing. All right. If we look at checks first, the only check we have is what? The queen, capture, and that is mate because of this bishop helping out. So there we had 2 attackers. Our opponent has what? Maybe 1 pawn that's kind of helping defend. All right. I'll do 5 more problems so we can get 10 in today. Okay, once again, we don't have to really count up material. I mean, you could do that as part of your routine, but here, if we look at checks first, the queen can go here, here, but then the king would be able to run. So the best move would be the other check, which is here, and that'll be a mate in 1. So checkmate. All right, well, pause the video at the beginning if you need to think longer before I give too much away. But let's move on to problem number 7. Okay, the rook is centralized, which is usually a good strategy. It's aiming at this pawn. But, instead of defending, maybe we have something better. Okay, it looks like we do. We have different possibilities here. Okay, checks, captures, and threats. So if we look at checks, captures, and threats, checks first. If we go here, we'll be captured. Here we'll be captured. Here we'll be captured with the queen. If the queen goes to any of those squares. So that doesn't look good. We have this check, but the rook could just capture, attacking our queen. So that doesn't look so good. So captures. Do they have any unprotected pieces? Yes, the bishops. Excuse me. All right. Other possibilities, pieces that are connected, attacking one another. But we want something more forcing. So a threat. We could go here, capturing this pawn, and then we create a battery threatening a mate along this diagonal. And this is something to take advantage of. Whenever there's a fianchettoed position and the bishop is not in there, there's a lot of light squared weaknesses around the king. Okay, so if we go here, we're threatening checkmate. The opponent, probably the best move is to block here. But then we could go ahead and capture here. The rook would be forced to capture, and then we just go up ahead in material there, I believe. Let's count the material. We should have done that first probably. 4, 6 pawns versus 6, bishop pair, rooks, and queen. Yes. So we'll just go up ahead material. But something else we may want to look at is, do they have a counter threat? If we go here, they block, we take, they take, queen takes. Well, then this bishop could go here, threatening a mate in 1. And it looks like we could bring our rook up here and defend against it. So I think that works. Huh. Why would they do that move? Okay, well, that's kind of crazy. I think, this was rated 750, so it was probably pulled from a beginner section. So sometimes when beginners are still learning, they might make some moves that don't make sense sometimes. But then I think all of us make some moves sometimes that don't make sense. All right, problem number 8. King has just stepped forward. What do we have going on? I guess it was trying to defend this pawn, which we're piling up on with bishop and rook. Oh, but that left a great move here. So hopefully you found the answer if you looked at checks first. Now we could check with the bishop, but they'll just capture. And then if our rook captures, king can capture. But we have something better, another check. So hopefully you found this move with the knight. We're going to move here, forking king and queen. So check, and then we grab the queen. And, if they capture, what do we have? 2 rooks, bishop pair. They will have a pair of minor pieces, 2 rooks, so then pawns. They will wreck their pawn structure, but they will have 3, 5, 7, and we'll have 7. But then we'll be able to grab this in the center as well. All right, problem number 9. Queen was just captured, so that's not so good. Oh, wow, great little pattern here. We have a rook lined up on a king, so there's your hint. If we look at checks first, we're going to move this knight, but where is it best to move that knight? We could go here, here, or here, but one of those is a double check. And whenever you have a possibility for a double check, it's always very wise to take a second look at that, or if your opponent is threatening it against you, because if we move the knight here, we have a check by the knight and the rook. So, as I mentioned in the past, if a king is in check, there's usually 3 options. Capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run, and if that can't be done, it's a mate. But if you have a double check where 2 pieces are checking the king at the same time, you can't block or capture both at the same time. The only thing that can be done is for the king to run. And if that is not possible, like in this position it can't run, then it's a mate. All right, the final problem, number 10. Okay, well, a nice easy one to end it with. Hopefully you found this one. Pause the video if you need more time to look. But if not, it's the basic theme of piling up on the F7 square. And, this is kind of like the scholar's mate, I guess, a little, but later in the game. So, mate is delivered because the queen prevents the king from running and delivers the check, and it's backed up by the bishop. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed these beginner patterns. Stay tuned in the future. I'll do intermediate, advanced, expert level. Maybe in the future I'll start another series with master level puzzles if these are all too easy for you. And I'm also doing a most common puzzle series, which I just started, so I'll have to continue that as well, as it was requested by a viewer. So if any viewers and subscribers out there have requests, go ahead and leave a comment. like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.